découverte. 35 grammes de bonne humeur. Saupoudrez le tout d'informations culturelles. Cameroun Feeling, de lundi à vendredi, de 8h10 à 10h, on CRTV. The Heart of the Nation.
Table birds in short supply in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Consumers are bound to pay double for the protein-rich food as poultry owners demand subsidies to step up production. Female custodians of tradition seek to ascertain their authority in the local setting. The first edition of their Come Together addresses the challenges of female leadership in a male-led world. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 News.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the 7:30 News. Prime Minister Joseph NGUTE has arrived in Bangui, Central African Republic, where he will personally represent the head of states at the inauguration of the president of the Central African Republic tomorrow. The head of government landed in Bangui aboard a special Kameku flight today and was received by the Prime Minister Fimen Gribada. Christian Chair Atam is on special assignment to Bangui and now reports.
The special NGUTE, personal representative of the head of state, touched down at the Bangui Mpoko International Airport at 10 minutes past 5 p.m. Upon his descent from the aircraft, Prime Minister Joseph NGUTE was received by his Central African counterpart, Fimen Gribada, and a host of ministers, as well as the ambassador of Cameroon to the Central African Republic. The personal representative of the President of the Republic was then accorded military honors at the esplanade of the airport before having a brief discussion with the Prime Minister of the Central African Republic at the VIP lounge of the Bangui Mpoko International Airport. When he left the airport for his hotel, a crowd of Cameroonians resident in the CAR warmly greeted the PM, who in turn came out of his vehicle to salute his compatriots. Prime Minister Joseph NGUTE will personally represent President Paul Biya at the inauguration of the Central African President on Tuesday. It will officially mark the start of the second mandate of President Faustin Archange Touadera.
And on to one of our top stories, there is an acute shortage of table birds witnessed in local markets in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Consumers are bound to disburse about 8,000 francs for a 2.5 kilogram chicken purchased a week earlier at 3,000 francs. Not only is there a significant increase in the costs, there is also a considerable shortage in supply. Cynthia Saptala reports on the scarcity a few days to Easter.
It's been obvious now for a while in most market squares in Yaoundé. Chicken is today one scarce food staple, and buyers have been complaining. The empty cages with no chickens and vendors idling around or proposing a kilo 2 old layer at 3,000 francs to passers-by instead of the usual agric fowl.
Now I just got 2 chicken for 5,500 francs, but at first you could get it even for 3,000 or 4,000 if it was expensive.
Based on vendors, the shortage in supply from breeders can account for this scarcity. They say these days they are able to buy and sell half of what they used to per day.
The few chicks we find, we take. Today, for example, there was nothing to buy and sell. If we find 10, 20, that's good.
With the upcoming Easter feast, consumers say it's almost certain that there will be no broilers on the dinner table if one requires 15,000 francs to feed a family.
If you want to follow our plan for Easter, yeah, we plan to eat chicken during the Easter, but the price is really too high. We cannot afford it.
For the Easter feast, I think we'll be forced to look for other meals. For example, fruits, vegetables, and I think I'll buy beef.
A thought that seems to dampen preparations for the feast unless the alternative chosen by buyers remain appealing to guests at their table.
In the face of today's sparse supply in table birds, the Ministry of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industries is working with economic operators to redress the situation. Through the Live to Africa project, which is a Pan-African initiative, there is hope to expand the capacity of hatcheries and advance the value chain of poultry farming. Ewan Epole reports.
In the last quarter of the year 2020, Cameroon recorded a 41% drop in its meat production, according to officials of the Ministry of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industries. This downward trend in the poultry production from over 60 poultry farms in the country could be explained by the suspension of delivery technical notices for the importation of hatching eggs.
All the countries like Cameroon must apply a precautionary principle to make sure that at the end of the day we don't import the avian influenza.
Through the Live to Africa, a Pan-African support project to ensure a sustainable development of livestock for livelihoods, Minipia officials say they are working with economic operators in the sector.
Minipia try to develop the animal production. We work with all the poultry sector to make sure that we develop a biosecurity measure, have a good structure that Cameroon can supply all the DO chick.
Government support actions also focuses on empowering farmer organizations and expanding the capacities of hatcheries.
From poultry to fish famine, there is equally a hike in the price of mackerel fish in the markets. For 3 months now, a kilogram of the fish ranges between 850 and 1,400 francs, while a carton sells at 33,000, down from 26,000 francs. Besides leaving buyers at a loss, the quality of the fish sold leaves much to be desired. Beatrice Ngum was at the To The Market in Yaoundé and now reports on the ordeal of mackerel mongers.
It's 8:30 Monday morning at the To The Market. In front of this fish store, a huge crowd, mostly women. They are fish retailers. For the past 3 months, they are in a fix. The cost of a carton of mackerel has increased from 26,500 francs to 28,000 CFA and even more, and no one seems to be telling them anything.
There's no mackerel. The small one that is there, they're selling it at 32,000 francs, 20 kilos. This one is 28,000. It's not even a good mackerel.
To get a carton of fish, they pair up, buy and share, instead of buying in kilograms, as a kilogram now sells from 850 francs to 1,400, depending on the freshness of the fish. Off camera, the hike in prices mackerel suppliers say is caused by the scarcity of this variety of seafood. Wholesalers are unable to meet their orders. Mackerel from Mauritania, which is most cherished by consumers, is not in the stores. The stock available is the variety of mackerel from Ireland and Netherlands, which consumers say is not fresh.
Not the rare mackerel. What will we do? We have to manage this one.
For the meantime, households and dealers in fish are consuming what is available.
And in order to boost fish production in the country, government has embarked on a number of reforms. Hundreds of thousands of fingerlings have been distributed recently to local fish farmers to contribute to an improvement of aquaculture production in the country. Luma Slim Davis reports that a variety of fish formerly imported are now produced locally.
Fish is a widely consumed delicacy in Cameroon. There is therefore the need to boost production to satisfy the growing demand that cuts across the society.
We left from 3,000 tons produced around 2015 to close to 15,000 tons in 2020. We left from 2,300 farmers in the same period to around 10,000 farmers. We left from fish produced at around 2,000 francs per kilogram and sold at more than 2,500 francs per kilogram to fish produced now at around 1,300, 1,500 francs per kilogram and being sold at less than 2,000 francs per kilogram.
Government measures inscribed in the 2021 finance law to boost production has attracted impressive attention.
Now they can produce at a lower cost, they can be competitive, and they can easily fill the gap.
So far, local fish farmers are making the best out of the initiative.
We're trying little by little to produce more so that we can start substituting what has been imported, because there's a lot of money that is being sent out of Cameroon just to import fish that we can produce locally. The difficulties in the production process were, first of all, quality fingerlings, which has been solved because we are producing that now in Cameroon. Feed fish, imported fish which is so costly, that is a bit of a handicap for those that want to produce in large scale.
With the look of things, the fish sector has a brighter future that will rake in maximum benefits for producers and consumers.
Another sector where commendable efforts are being made to increase the quality and quantity of yields is in rice farming. To cut down on importation, the government of Cameroon and the World Bank have partnered to reorganize the Company for the Expansion and Modernization of Rice, CEMRI, which is launched in Yagua. Wilson Mengole has the details.
To guarantee the production of quantity and quality rice, the experimental sector for the modernization of rice cultivation, CEMRI, with support from the World Bank, is trying out different species of rice in response to the aspiration of producers who have been seeking for high yield. The World Bank and the government of Cameroon have intensified training of farmers rice cultivation to meet the demands of the people.
This meeting is dealing with how to ameliorate, to transform the CEMRI society.
The World Bank has been supporting CEMRI activities, especially in the far north region of the country, through transformation and expansion of Yagua rice. The administration of CEMRI wants to modernize the structure as a reference center in the production of rice in and out of the Central African sub-region.
Onto digitalization, farmers in Cameroon will soon have access to telecommunication networks and microloans irrespective of whether they are in urban or rural areas. The innovation is of the Project for the Acceleration of Cameroon's Digital Transformation. It is spearheaded by the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications in collaboration with the Agricultural, Livestock and Economy Ministries. Yoti Kaleli Songe reports on the data-based agricultural seminar.
A wind of change soon to blow in Cameroon through agriculture via a digital transformation of the sector.
It's a new concept to use agri-tech, agriculture with technology, to use artificial intelligence. To do it, we need to connect rural area.
Learning the wrinkles from developed countries comes with a flood of benefits for cultivators.
They'll have access to real-time market information. Part of the project will also do soil testing. There's another element called the e-voucher. The e-voucher is a way that the government will finance rural farmers. They should be able to have microloans to be able to have input into the farms.
The project for the acceleration of Cameroon's digital transformation is well on course.
The farmer has to show a certain level of information. That means they have a farm, they have produce.
At this data-based agriculture seminar, the various stakeholders are kept abreast of the World Bank-funded project to be implemented in a few months.
In other news, the new South Regional Delegate for National Security has been commissioned into office to reinforce security at the region's frontiers in an effort to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Minister Martin Bangagele gave the instructions in Bolova as installed Police Commissioner Hubert Nicolas Zombame. Details with Bernice Atabong from the south.
Commissaire divisionnaire Zombame Hubert Nicolas, prenez le commandement.
Police Commissioner Hubert Nicolas Zombame has taken office in a region where banditry, trafficking, juvenile delinquency and smuggling, amongst other crimes, are common. The South region, which shares borders with Gabon, Equatorial Guinea and the Republic of Congo, is also a locality that brings together people from other parts of the country and those from across the border. For this reason, the Delegate General for National Security, Martin Bangagele, asked the Police Commissioner to tighten security at the frontiers in view of controlling the spread of the coronavirus. In view of containing COVID-19, the new regional delegate and his collaborators will have to make sure that people respect barrier measures. The 50-year-old new South Regional Delegate of National Security has been in the police force for more than 20 years. While installing him, the Delegate General for National Security said he is convinced that the police official will be successful in carrying out his duties.
The second phase of a workshop on good governance and the fight against terrorism is underway at the National School of Administration and Magistracy, NAM. It is championed by the Global Center and Security Cooperation, led by the U.S. Embassy in Cameroon, and targets students, administrators and magistrates. The chargé d'affaires at the U.S. Embassy, Vernel Fitzpatrick, now talks on the training. Take a listen.
Within the context of terrorism and, of course, within the context of good governance and justice, to ensure that they're better prepared to respond to the needs of the populations, particularly those in the far north region. I must say that there are 60 participants who are participating in the second phase, and this training started in 2017, went for 2 years till 2019, and because of the great partnership we have with the government of Cameroon and with NAM in particular and other agencies represented here, we decided to extend the training for an additional 2 years. The government of Cameroon is focusing on providing the skills to administrators and magistrates working in areas that are touched by attacks by Boko Haram and ISIS-WA.
On to investigative report tonight, we zoom in on an essential tool in the 21st century, which is a smartphone. Denying a teenager a smartphone nowadays can be quite a tough decision, especially given the addictive nature of the accessory and its abusive use by the youth. The immoral and indecent acts filmed in the school milieu recently and circulating on social media ignites debates on whether or not to delay giving an adolescent a smartphone. Beatrice Law Samba has been investigating.
One swipe at a time, one beep or notification at a time, many adolescents have been observed to drain away their individuality and dignity. It drives a debate on whether to delay teens' access to smartphones for fear they'll use them inappropriately.
Handing over phones to teenagers comes with great responsibility. So they, of course, have access to lots of social media platforms, and also other means of communicating with their friends. And that is something that parents really need to have a conversation with their children about.
Most, if not all, people think taking away screen time is not a wise decision in the 21st century when smartphones are an essential accessory. There might be many dangers, but many good reasons too why teens should be allowed to have phones.
Children have different things to do with phones. Some take it for research as students, and some just take it to play games.
But parents still cannot help wondering if all the time kids spend online shouldn't be limited.
The best thing to do is to educate the children on the usage of phone, the positivity and the negativity of it. Because if you teach them well, they'll use them rightly.
Society agrees to setting limits on phone usage and teaching kids self-regulation skills as they explore what they say is not altogether a bad social media network.
On to COVID-19 news, the city of Yaoundé is gradually becoming the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic in the country as hundreds of infections are being recorded weekly. This upsurge has been attributed to the disregard for barrier measures, especially in public places. Gerard Nanji Eyambe has the details.
Yaoundé, the nation's capital, this Monday, March 29, 2021. It is business as usual. Many are without face mask. The social distancing measure is far from being respected, as many could be spotted in groups. Some were caught on camera shaking hands with in a carefree manner. Paradoxically, some persons selling face masks are themselves not wearing them. However, there are many who have taken it as a point of duty to respect the barrier measures.
Ever since we had the outbreak of the COVID-19 in the country, I have made the wearing of face masks mandatory. I respect this measure on a daily basis while encouraging my family members to do same. Apart from face masks, I wash my hands regularly. Generally, this barrier measure has drastically dropped among Cameroonians, so I believe we have to step up efforts.
The virus is not a respecter of anybody, reason why more and more inhabitants are reminded that protecting oneself is also the protection of all.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
Over 47,000 Cameroonians have been tested positive for COVID-19 since the outbreak of the pandemic in the country, with hundreds of deaths recorded in the last few months. Health professionals insist it is imperative that there is an overhaul in mentality for holds in the spread, and this comes with abiding by state prescriptions and the World Health Organization recommendations. Baldwin Sama tells us more from the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. As days go by, the number of persons tested positive for COVID-19 in Cameroon keeps increasing because ever since we had the first confirmed case of this virus in the country, so far we have had 47,669 Cameroonians who have been tested positive for COVID-19. 721 Cameroonians have so far died of COVID-19 ever since we had the first confirmed case in the country, with 38,820 Cameroonians who have recovered from this virus since last year. We have 8,128 active cases. That is to say, persons who are living with the virus in the 10 different regions of Cameroon, with 504 Cameroonians who are in the different hospitals. Out of these 504, we have 120 of them who are on oxygen, trying as much as possible to fight between life and death, talking about COVID-19. The death rate stands at 1.5%. Quite interesting to know is the fact that within 2 weeks, in the month of March this year, 2021, Esther Kima, we have had 8,681 confirmed cases, new cases of persons tested positive for COVID-19 just within 2 weeks in Cameroon. And still within 2 weeks in Cameroon, in the month of March this year, 131 persons have died of the coronavirus. And recently, before the month of March, we had less than 500 active cases, persons living with the virus. But now, the number of active cases stands at over 126 of them, persons living with the virus in the society in Cameroon, telling signs that we need to be more careful, we need to continue respecting barrier measures so as to avoid the persistent rise in the number of persons tested positive for COVID-19 or an increase in the number of persons who die of COVID-19 on a daily basis in Cameroon. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Baldwin Summer. 8,000 new infections in 2 weeks is alarming, and it's a wake-up call that we all should stay vigilant. On to one of our top stories. Female traditional rulers across the nation are meeting to carve a path to success and to bar the way to male chauvinism in society. Grouped under the association known by its French acronym FETRAC, the female custodians of tradition are seeking ways to ascertain the authority in their communities. Our intern, Lady Mama, covered their conclave in Yaoundé. Here's a report.
Female traditional leaders from different parts of the country have assembled at the Yaoundé City Council to discuss issues on leadership as far as women in different communities are concerned. There was an educative talk on economic autonomy by the program coordinator of the United Nations Women.
The needs of the community, maybe the female needs at the community, will be better addressed when the leader is the woman. And if the needs is correctly addressed, so it will be able to be not achieved, but to be a solution.
The president of the association, Her Majesty Marie-Catherine Ngonjob, has as project to carry on decentralization in a 10 region to ease work, also to create agriculture, fishing, and teaching children to learn their culture. This activity that started this Thursday will end 26 with a gala night.
In other news, cocoa growers of the Lake Division have begun receiving premiums in cash as a reward for having supplied the local and international markets with more than 238 tons of upgraded cocoa. The ceremony to kickstart the exercise was presided over by the Minister of Trade, Luc Magloire Mbaga Tangana in Bachenga, while he urged the producers to redouble their efforts in order to stay competitive. Clarice Aritakan tells us more.
The Lake Division is one of the active cocoa production basins in Cameroon. For the 2017-2018 season, close to 1,500 farmers from 9 producers' organizations stood out producing 238 tons, 695 kilograms of grade 1 beans. Their efforts have been rewarded with cash.
When you work and are rewarded with a salary, it brings joy.
Granting premiums to cocoa growers is amongst the 3 short-term measures enforced by the state since 2017 to not only stimulate the local output, but above all, bring it to acceptable international standards.
We have no choice. If we want to continue to sell our cocoa in the international market, we need to improve, to promote quality. Quality means, of course, the quality of beans is a message of encouragement to the producer to do more.
Examples to emulate is the role producers of the lake have been enjoined to hammer, receiving more than 114.5 million CFA francs for the quality job done with cocoa.
In this advertorial, general managers of Cameroon's regulatory institutions are seeking solutions to render their activities more vibrant. The deliberations presided over by the general manager of the National Ports Authority, Yumba Josue, centered on the exchange of expertise for better output. Lekiate Gertrude Asongazi tells us more.
This inaugural General Assembly, which brings together regulatory institutions from around the country, is aimed at mobilizing forces to improve the regulation of public service utilities and also to support the state policies. The platform, which will help in the exchange of services and expertise within regulatory institutions, has been considered timely.
This forum has main objectives. That is to make sure that best practices in all sectors and that good governance is observed all over. And that's the best way for us to make sure that our economy will be modernized.
This platform for regulatory institutions is also expected to take the country towards emergence and will permit government have a forum through which the regulatory institutions could be evaluated.
The first thing is that these institutions have been set up by the government, and the government is the one leading all the policies. So the institutions are there to help the government to implement all these policies. So the institutions are there to advise and to give all the necessary information to government so that best practices and good governance be applied in all the sectors.
The idea to hatch the creation of the Cameroon Forum of Regulatory Institutions was born in South Africa back July 2015 between the general managers of ASE and RMP. Today, the group includes institutions like the Cameroon Civil Aviation Authority, the Electricity Sector Regulatory Agency ASEL, ANTIC, RTA, ANOR, the Hydrocarbon Price Stabilization Fund, and others.
And now on to sports. Cameroon plays against Rwanda tomorrow in the Day 6 match of Group F in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Gideon Tazo now joins us live from Douala to tell us about the eve of the preparations as well as the Lions' deal for victory tomorrow. Hello, Gideon. Hello, Gideon.
Hello, welcome to the Japoma Stadium here in Douala, where you're joining us just a few minutes after the coach of the national football team of Cameroon, the Indomitable Lions, Antonio Consaso Sesao, just wrapped up the pre-match press conference in which he indicated that there could be some revolutionary changes to the squad that will play tomorrow against the Amavubis. In fact, given what we saw at the last training session this evening at 5:30 p.m., there could be what we call a revolutionary change at the central axis of the defense, where we saw Ngandui play alongside Meyapia, the under 20 player who played that was in Mauritania. So there could be some changes there. We equally saw Five Collins equally featuring on the right back position. Well, concerning the Rwandan team, they have been playing some kind of a Mickey Mouse here for the reconnaissance. They never came for the press conference as well, but we get the indications that they were training at the reunification stadium here in Douala. But everything being equal, this is the atmosphere that will prevail tomorrow at this particular time for the game. This is when the match will be played. That's 8 p.m. and so this is the atmosphere, the beauty of the stadium. You can already have it. So just know that everything is in place for tomorrow's game. Those of the workers at the stadium here are putting everything in place, and for Cameroon, there is no joke. The coach wants to take the match very seriously, given what we saw today at the press conference, and of course at the training session. There's every indication that the Cameroon team might do something tomorrow against Rwanda. Gideon Tajo reporting for the Japoma Stadium here in Douala.
Thanks very much, Gideon. We're all hoping for a victory tomorrow. And still in sports, the final reports of the 2020 African Nations Championship organized in Cameroon has been handed over to the Minister of Sports and Physical Education. Minister Narcisse Moele-Kombi received the reports from the tournament's director, Michel Disake, which now paves the way for an evaluation. Baldwin Sama with the details.
He hands over the general report of the 2020 African Nations Championship, officially putting an end to all administrative work related to that competition. A bilingual report with 380 pages in French and 377 in English, presented by CHAN 2020 Tournament's director, Michel Disake. This document detailing explains how the championship unfolded in Cameroon from start to finish.
The Minister of Sport, he congratulates all members of this CHAN. He congratulates the spirit, the general spirit shown during this last month.
Sports and Physical Education Minister Professor Narcisse Moele-Kombi described Cameroon's hosting as exemplary while thanking all those involved in its successful organization. Monday's ceremony announces preparations for a countdown to the biggest football competition in Africa Cameroon will host come January 2022.
Will be all for this edition of the 7:30 News, in which you heard that on the esteemed instructions of the Head of State, His Excellency Paul Biya, the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph NGUTE, shall represent the President of the Republic at the investiture ceremony of the President-elect of the Republic of Central Africa, Professor Faustin Archange TOUADERA, tomorrow, Tuesday, the 30th of March 2021 in Bangui. The head of government already arrived in Bangui today at about 5:30 p.m. More news will be coming up at 8:30 p.m. with Adel Mbala. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing. Stay tuned to our programs on CRTV and on CRTV News, and stay protected from the coronavirus. It kills and it exists. Good night.
into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.